All right, Tim, Ryzen gave us more cores in general. That's true. And now Intel gives us a bunch of E-cores. In today's video, you said the 2600X aged better than its competition. Do you think that'll hold true for current AMD parts? I've been PC building for a long time now, but it seems only adding more full-size cores has ever lasted the test of time. So I pretty sure it was the 1600X that I was talking about, but it's roughly the same CPU, so that's fine. And for those of you wondering, it was in relation to the Core i5 7600K. I believe that's the video we're talking about.
Yep.
So this one in general is pretty easy to answer because it's a very different situation to that first gen Ryzen versus 7th gen core series, because Alder Lake, which is the CPUs with the E-cores, they just have, well, as many or more CPU resources than Zen 3, which is why they're doing quite well in productivity now. And there is higher IPC to boot. So really, for the most part, for almost all of the matchups, Alder Lake is slightly faster and has slightly more CPU resources. So I expect those margins to remain pretty consistent well into the future. If we were to go through individual matchups, I've noted a few here. Again, Intel wins most of them. So Ryzen 5, which would be the 5600 and 5600X, against the locked Core i5 parts. So like the 12400, which is a part we really like. They're both 6-core, 12-thread. There's some discrepancies here and there with frequencies and things like that, but they're going to age the same, obviously, because they're both 6-core, 12-thread processors. The 12600K has a couple of E-cores, and that will... well, it's faster now for productivity, and it will be in the future. Ryzen 7 versus Core i7, same situation. The E-cores exist there, and again, those parts are just outright faster, so they're certainly going to age better, the Alder Lake parts. The only one which could be interesting would be, would you say, the 12900K versus the 5950X?
Yep.
Because you get 16 actual cores versus 8 P-cores with 8 E-cores.
Yep.
So a different way of going about it there. And I think, honestly, I don't think it's relevant, because when a game is going to max out those CPUs, where you take advantage of having 16 full-size cores,
probably quite a way into the future, if ever.
I would honestly not predict Zen 3 to age better, even in that comparison. I would say the 1200K will remain the slightly superior CPU for gaming. And then in productivity, they trade blows, and that's not going to change from what we see now. So, no, certainly a very different situation to what we saw when AMD... well, the Ryzen 5 1600, in my opinion, was very easy to predict as being a better CPU not too far down the track. It was within 2 years. I did a reevaluation, and most games, the Ryzen 5 processor was as fast or faster, and then the really heavy ones, much better frame time performance, opposed to the Core i5 7600K, because that had 4 cores with 4 threads. So you're talking about 3 times the amount of CPU resources, 50% more cores. And the reason why that was easy to predict was because in applications like Cinebench, all core workloads, the Ryzen processor was like 80% faster. So when you've got a situation where a CPU is 80% faster when fully utilized, good chance it's going to end up being the fastest CPU for pretty much all workloads before too long. So yeah, that's that one.